Roger.
Still waiting for the chair and vice chair.
Oh, I'll just take over.
Pro temp, a second.
Meeting adjourned. Are you on the call?
Good morning. This is Angelita Benelli. So far, this is a work session, so we don't need a quorum. But if, and we have delegates Pernell Halona and Delegate Paul Begay and Delegate Edison Wanika. Am I missing anybody, Mr. Mose?
Yeah, Bob, unfortunately, so online as well.
Okay, thank you. There are 4 members on the line. What the members could do is establish a pro tem. And if Chair So or Vice Chair Slater do come on the line, they can take over at that time. But right now we have 29 participants who have called in and are waiting for the work session to begin. Thank you.
Three members, this is Delegate Wanika. I nominate, Pernell Alona to be the pro temp while we're waiting for the chair or the vice chair. Pernell, Aspila.
I second that motion.
Mel, are you on?
I'm jumped offline.
I have, good morning, this is Angelita Benelli again. I have, I don't, oh, I do see Mr. Delegate Halona's call. All right, thank you.
Pernell, are you online?
Can you hear me? I got cut off. I just got back on.
Yes, Pernell, I made a motion. Now, I made a motion to put you in as pro temp, waiting for the chair and vice chair, and it was seconded by, Paul Begay, so is it okay for you to pro temp until we get chair or vice chair?
Sure. We can start then.
Okay, so, but, Mr. Moses can probably go ahead and do the, vote for the, putting in a pro temp.
Or we'll do
Mr. Mose?
Can you call,
Go ahead.
Delegate, Juanica, if the members who are on the line could call the meeting, the work session to order, and we can do a roll call, and then at that time, nominate Delegate Halona to be Chair Pro Tem. Thank you.
Yeah, well, the reason why I was doing it this way is because, you told us we don't need a quorum for a work session. So all we want to do was just put in a pro temp to guide us.
Okay. I understand. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do a vote count for pro temp, Honorable Paul Begay Jr.,
Green.
Honorable Paul Begay Jr. votes green, Honorable Carl Russell Slater, Honorable Charlene So, Honorable Charlene So. Looks like we lost her call. She got dropped or something. She's not online. Honorable Edison J. Wanika.
Green.
We lost Honorable Charlene So's phone call. We're back to square one.
Angie, can we still go on this, Pernell said it's okay for him to, pro temp.
Yes, it is, Mr. Delegate Juanica. You can also call Delegate Halona's vote as part of the record.
Okay. Okay, Honorable Pernell Halona, how do you vote?
Both of us green.
Right, sir, thank you. All right, we have a vote of 3 in favor, 0 opposed for the pro temp.
Mr. Mose, this is Delegate, so I vote in favor.
Okay, thank you very much. Vote is now 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Honorable Halona,
In charge.
it's all yours, sir.
Thank you, and thank you, committee members and everybody on the session here. welcome to this work session for the Human Education and Health and Services Committee work session for June 27th, 2022. And let's see, let's go ahead and get started with call the work session to order. Mr. Mose, do we need a roll call for this?
Yes, we'll do one real quick. Honorable Paul Begay Jr.
We got Paul Gates present.
Sure. Honorable Pernell Halona.
Ron is present.
Honorable Carl Russell Slater. Honorable Charlene So.
I'm present.
Very much. Honorable Daniel Lee So. Honorable Edison J. Wanika.
Yes.
We have 4 members, pro tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mose. Let's call this meeting to order again. Did I get Del Renika, could you give us an invocation, please?
All right, let's have a word of prayer before we start our work session. Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning. We're so thankful for all the many blessings that Thou bestowed on each and every one of us. So thankful for the rest that we got. And we're so thankful for this beautiful new day, another opportunity for us to take care of the things we need to. We're so thankful for one another, for all that we do in reference to the responsibility that we've been given by the people. We're so thankful for our staff, for the help that they provide us, and for all the programs and divisions, all the employees that work at the different governmental processes in Navajo Nation and the responsibility that they have. Thankful for the local leaders, the chapter officials, region members, and boards, all those that have the responsibility to provide assistance to within their areas. We're so thankful for our people, each and one of them, for our elders, for they provided us, and for our parents. Thankful for veterans, for all that they did to ensure that we have freedom to do all that we do. Thankful, Father, for all the many opportunities that we have in this life. We ask Thee that I would always be there for us to be able to continue to provide us the things that we need to one day solve the problems that we have, especially at this time having to do with the COVID. I ask Thee that we might continue to help one another to overcome it. So thankful for all that we have, and we're so thankful for many opportunities that are provided us. Father, we ask our blessing might be with the children, bless them that they pursue their education. Father, we ask Thee that we might be able to take care of the responsibility that we have this morning in reference to this work session. Bless those that will be presenting, that they might have that spirit to be with them, to be able to provide us the information that we need for the purpose that they are before us. Be with us in all that we do. We might always make decisions to be able to be a benefit to the people. Might do so with Thy Spirit in all that we do. Be with us now as we address the items on the agenda. With us when the time comes that we might into our homes and safety, those of us that are away from home. With us in all that we do, we humbly pray in that Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Delegate Halona?
I got cut off there. Are we done with the prayer there?
Yes, and we can hear you.
Okay, let's just check in. I couldn't hear. Okay, thank you for that wonderful prayer, Delegate Winika. And so let's move on. Could I get Sandrita, do we need to go ahead and review the agenda, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you have your proposed agenda for the Health Education and Human Services Committee, 24th Navigation Council as a work session, June 27, 2022. Presiding Honorable Purnell Halona as Chair Pro Tem. Place is via telecommunications, Window Rock, Navajo Nation, Arizona. 1, call work session to order. Roll call, invocation announcements. 2, recognize guests and visiting officials. 3, review agenda. 4, work session reports. And this work session is in reference to the Division of Social Services Programs transfers to align with divisions or departments' plans of operations. A is with the Division of Social Services. The current financial viability of the following Division of Social Services, departments, and programs. 1 is the DSS regarding the federal contracts, federal fund reversion from FY 2016 to FY 2021, and recommendations to comprehensively streamline excess or unspent financial balances, initiatives to disperse contracts and grant funds in a timely manner, and to update the tri-state agreement renegotiations with New Mexico, Arizona, and Navajo Nation. And presenters are the Contracts and Grants Officer with the Contracts and Grants Office under OMB is Mr. Cordell Shorty. Also, Mr. Dominic Bial, the Executive Director of OMB. Elizabeth Begay, Controller with the Office of the Controller, and Robert Willie, the General Accounting Manager with the Office of the Controller. And you have 5 close of work session announcements and adjournment. Mr. Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you for that. Mr. Hollywood, could I get, see, I guess I missed one of the agenda items, and I want to go back to that real quick before I get a motion for the agenda. Could I get recognitions and guests from the officials and anybody who's on the line? Could you introduce yourself real quick, please?
Good morning, Pro Tem Chair Halona. This is Tommy Sosi from Office of the Speaker on the line.
Thank you, Tommy. Next individual, please. Guest and officials, could we please introduce yourself?
Good morning. This is Roxanne Gorman, the Department Manager for the Department for Self-Reliance.
Thank you, Roxanne. Next, please.
Good morning. This is Brianne Matiba from Navajo Family Assistance Services Program.
Thank you, Brianna. Next, please.
Good morning. This is Cordell with Contracts and Grants. I think members of my staff, Jermaine Jones and Jan James, are on the call as well.
Thank you,
Thank you very much, Ani. This is Derek Franklin from OPVP.
Thank you, Derek. Next, please. Anybody from Social Services?
Good morning. This is Rosalind McGay with Division of Social Services.
Thank you, Rosalind. Is there anybody else joining you today? Okay, hearing no others, let's go ahead and continue with the agenda. Can we get a consensus on the agenda? We don't really need a vote for this. Committee members? Do you have any objections to the agenda?
Nope. No objection.
No objection to the agenda. We will proceed then. First, on number 4 will be the work session reports, Division of Social Services, the transfer to align the divisions or Department of Plan of Operations. And the Division of Social Services is totally financially viable for the following divisions of social services and programs and departments. Number 1, Division of Social Services contracts. Revert funds to federal government covering the 5 previous years, including 638 contracts not fully used to benefit the Navajo Nation. And number 2, on federal fund reversion for federal years 1/1/2016 to federal year 12/31/21. I guess we can start with that for right now, and we can move on down the agenda. Ms. Sosi, Ben Sosi, are you online?
Good morning. This is Marlinda with Division of Social Services. Brenda is on another call, but let me have her join. So give me a few minutes here. Let me get her on this call.
Thank you, Marlene.
Good morning again. This is Marlinda, Pro Temp Halona. Brenda is joining us here, and just for proper introduction, Yad Ehebene, the Health, Education, and Human Services Committee. Ms. Niswit Gishi, our Executive Director, is on travel this morning, and so I will be representing her this morning. And we also have a couple of our department managers who are also on call. Brenda will provide the presentation or the updates. And then if there's any specific questions to any of the programs, we will yield the time to the program managers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melinda. If you want to go ahead and get started, if you have a copy of the agenda, you want to go ahead and get started with the first item on the agenda, regarding funds to federal government covering the 5 previous years for 638 contract.
Thank you, Pro Temp Halona. Yes, Brenda has joined the call, and also just to mention that we did submit a report. So I believe it was last week. So she'll review that. So at this time, I'll yield the floor to Brenda Sosi, our principal accountant. Brenda.
Ms. Sosi, are you on? You might want to try *6.
Okay,
if you're
I
trying
got
to get on. Okay. Good morning, Ms. Sosi. Thank you for joining us. Can you go ahead and start your presentation there on that federal contracts? Ms. Sosi, are you online still?
Pro Tem, this is Leonard. Her call got dropped.
Okay. Ms. Melinda?
Yes, good morning. I apologize for the technical difficulties
Mr.
this
Chair,
morning.
Mr. Chair Pro Temp, this is Rosalind. Brenda was reporting, but something is going on with her system. So give us a few minutes to rectify the situation. Thank you.
Okay, we'll give you a few minutes to rectify the situation. When you get back on, could you let us know?
Yes, we will notify you here shortly.
Hello, can you hear me now? This is Brenda Sosi.
Yes, Brenda,
No,
we
there you
can
are.
hear you.
I apologize. Oh my goodness, I was really talking away here, and when another staff member told me that I was on mute. Well, good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Brenda Sosi. I work with Division of Social Services, and I'm the principal accountant for the Office of the Executive Director. I did receive the report, the actual budget expenditure report from OMB, and I just wanted to provide an overview. We do have the 5 state fundings, which is Title 20 from Arizona, Utah, and New Mexico, and they are for protective services. And we have the developmental disabilities and Arizona long-term care system, all text program. They are cost reimbursement for case management. Then the several federal funds, including the LIHEAP, which is Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, CSBG, Community Services Block Grant. Then we have the TANF program. Then we also have the Title IV-B Subpart 1 and Subpart 2, and Family Violence and Child Care Development Program. Also, we have 5 Public Law 93-638 contracts with BIA. That's for Navajo Treatment Center for Children to Families, Department of Family Services, and Navajo Family Assistance Services, and also ICWA, Indian Child Welfare Act. So the overall percentages of the funding sources that we receive for DSS, 18% is BIA, 79% is the federal funds, that's ACF, and then 1% each is from IHS, state funds, and then also 1% is from the general funds as well. And I just wanted to report that too. The 638 programs are 638 program and IHS are open until expended, and there are no reversions. Same way with the TANF program, and then also for the state funding for Arizona long-term care system and developmental disability, there are also a cost reimbursement, and it's a fee for service, which an estimate budget is projected based on number of members by the case management rate. So that's how we come up with their budget, and these funds are not reverted as well. And no TANF funds have been reverted back to the funding source as well, where Department of Self-Reliance, they reserve the funds awarded to them without fiscal year limitation to provide assistance under the Tribal TANF program, and also DSR may expend funds beyond the fiscal year, in which awarded only benefits that meet the definition of assistance, or the administrative costs directly associated with providing assistance. So those are the funding that we get. We also have the financial reports that are due, and that's what's being submitted as well. And that's really basically what our overall is. And looking at this, the expenditure report, I did provide it an expenditure report at our last work session as well. But there's an updated one that was provided as of June the 6th. The Office of Management and Budget. So that you will have. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Sosie. Could you email that report to the advisors so we can get emailed out to the committee members?
This is Marlinda. Yes, we will email the report to the Oversight Committee members.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And let's go back to the committees here real quick to see if anybody has any questions. Committee members, do we have any questions at this time? Committee members, do we have any questions at this time? Rosalind, on the email, if you could send one to the legislative staff as well. Committee members, do we have any questions? Okay, so, let's move on. Mr. Osmoncello, I have, federal fund reversion for, 01-216 to 01-26. Do you have a report on that?
This is Marlinda. Brenda, if you could also cover that agenda item, Brenda. I believe she did, but we'll have her provide a little more detail. Brenda, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
Hold on, see if I can. Okay. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, let me get it on the screen, okay? So that way you can review it with me. So I'm trying to get this on the screen, so bear with me. Hold on.
Hello?
Pro Temp Chair Halona, this is Marlinda. If we could ask your host to share their or allow us to share our screen, then Brenda can bring up her presentation.
Mr. Most?
Yes, go ahead. I'm only the co-host for 10.
Oh.
Angie.
Mr. Nolly.
Yeah, Mr. Chair Pro Tem, I don't have anything that indicates that it's prohibiting Ms. Sosi from sharing the screen. There it goes.
Okay, you guys see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Pro-Tem Chair and committee member, here is now what happened. Okay, let me go through the general funds first. On my screen, you'll see expenditures from fiscal year 17 all the way into 22. So the first one is the Office of the Executive Director. This is our business unit 117001. So
Ms. Sosi, I think that the shared screen ceased. I don't see anything on the share screen.
can you see it now?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
now it's visible. Thank you.
Okay, let me go through the general funds first, and then I'll go through all the contracts. So for the general funds, the Office of the Executive Director's budget, we have it all here for the last 6 years. That's for FY 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. And our revised budget is listed here, our expenditure, then our obligation and our balance. That's what I have here. And also for the business unit 117008, which is the school clothing program, I have it for all fiscal years as well, all the way up to from FY 17 to FY 22 to current. And then also for the Department of Family Services, I have their business unit as well, 117022. And I have the revised budget, expenditure, then obligation, and the balance. Then we did get a donation that was from DEM for the COVID burial. And also we had the family, Casey family donation as well. That was for school clothing. So that's what we have for the general funds. Then going on to the proprietary funds, we get three funds, three funding for the 3 childcare centers, which is Chinle, Fort Defiance, and Shiprock. Those are the childcare centers that get proprietary funds. I did the same thing. We're reporting from FY 17 to FY 22nd. So those are the 3 childcare centers we have: Chinle Daycare Center, Fort Defiance Daycare Center, then also Shiprock Daycare Center. And these are just the revenues that they receive, and that's how they base their budget on. And we have the Title 20, that's the overall Title 20 that I was talking about, the Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah Title 20 programs. We have expenditures for FY 17 and all the way down to FY 22. So these are the balances that we have. These are the funding that we get. And then what I show is the balance, what we still have as our remaining balances. For Title 20 Arizona, that's open until, well, that's still state year, but the contract ends on September the 30th. But for New Mexico and Utah, they're ending this week on the 30th. Then all tax program, I did also do the expenditure from FY 17 all the way to current. And this is the one that we're talking about, that's fee for service. And there's no reversions for this program as well. And also developmental disability. These are the funds that are also received for fee for service. This is from FY18 all the way to current. Then we have the Title 4B Subpart 1 program that we get that's promoting safe and stable families. About fiscal year 17, and then also to fiscal year 21. And these are, I have the revised budget expenditure obligation and balances. And then for Title 4B Subpart 2, that's for child welfare services. This is where we split, we share funding with treatment center as well. Then also there's the adoption programs are funded under here. So I do have 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 as well. And for family violence program, this is also another federal funds program that we get. I have FY 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. Then the low income home energy assistance program, the light heat program, I have that here as well. We have FY 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and then the current. And I also have the LIWAP admin and direct as well. Then the Community Service Block Grant, the CSVG program, that's for FY 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. That's what we have as well. These are our balances. And then we have the 638. I combine all of it together by calendar year. I have 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. I just combined them all together. That has the Family Assistance Program, and then also the Department of Family Services, and also Treatment Center's budget is in here as well. So I just combined them just to show that, you know, the overall budget for the 638 program. And then also this is open until expended. And then we have the IHS Treatment Center. They get the Indian Health Services funds. I have 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. These are their budget. And then Child Care Development Block Grant as well. This is FY 18, 19, 20, and 21. That's what we have reporting. And then the Department of Self-Reliance, these are the China funds we're talking about. This is also open until expended. We have FY 18, 19, 20, and 21. And the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act program, this is the 638 funding that they receive as well. And I have 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. And these are their balances. And this is just a chart to show, like I was saying, these are the funding that we get for Division of Social Services. 79% is from the federal funds. Then BIA, we get 18%, and state funding, and then also the IHS and the Navajo Nation funds, we get 1%. So, Chair.
Mr. Morris, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, there you go. Guess you got put on mute. Mr. Sosi, are you done with your presentation there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now I can see now a little bit better on what we were talking about there. Committee members, do we have any questions for Ms. Sosi right now?
Pro Temp Chair.
Nika.
Thank you, Pro Temp and members of the committee. I'm still really concerned about this initiative to transfer to align with divisions of Department Plan of Operations. I know we got this information from the last work session, and what I'm listening for is what the division and program division of the department heads are planning to do is realign the programs, I guess, to resolve some of the concerns that they have. By doing this, will it do that as far as the funds that are being reverted back to the federal government? And also talking about streamlining excess or unspent financial balances, then to disperse contract and grant funds in a timely manner. And I'm still not in support of this because we're just months away from changing administration or going with the current administration of whatever. I think we shouldn't be doing this because the budget process is going to be starting pretty soon also. And I keep saying this should have been done within the 2 years of this administration. And my position is I'm thinking about moving this off our agenda, give it to the 25th Council. That's my position on this. Thank you, Pro Temp.
Thank you, Nika. Any other questions from the committee? Any other questions from committee members? Okay, I want to go back to Ms. Sosi, Brendan Sosi.
I'm here, Pro Tem Chair.
Yes, ma'am. There are a couple of questions Mr. Winika was asking about. Can you verify some of those questions on the changes that we're trying to make?
Okay, Pro Tem Chair and committee members. I know that the unspent funds, that was one of the questions that is for the IHS Treatment Center. I believe what needs to happen there is that the scope of work that really, I think there has to be change there because it's, I'm not really certain, maybe Melinda will speak to that as far as the scope of work, but as far as the funding was given to the treatment centers, so the funding will go with them. And this IHS funding is really, there's no reversions in this, the IHS funding. Then the other funding that I was talking about is the Title 4B, the subpart 2 that they get. Those are some of the categories that the funding sources give to Division of Social Services. So one of the categories in that funding, or in that scope of work is the family reunification. I think it's called time limited family reunification, and they get a certain percentage of the funding. So that funding that they receive is 11% that they usually get of the total allocation. So there are, like I said, there are like 4 other categories that are like, there's one that's family preservation services, family support services. Then the category that treatment center falls under is the time limited family reunification. Then there's adoption services, and then there's administrative funds also. So that funding will have to be looked at. Most likely it will stay with the Department of Family Services. So those are the funding that they get. Then also they're included in the BIA. They just got a recent contract that they received for BIA from BIA. So they get their own funding, their own contract from BIA as well. Also, I'm sure the scope of work that will change as well. And then also the funding that's open until it's expended. So that funding will go with them as well. Mr. Chair? Pro Tem?
Thank you, Ms. Jose, and Nico, you have a follow-up on that?
Thank you, Pro Tem. What I'm listening for is with these aligning the programs and these concerns that are put in place here. Number one, reverted funds and streamlining and initiative to disperse contracts and grants funds in a timely manner. Those are cited here. In what way are those going to be addressed with transferring some of the programs? And to me, these are decided just to right now at this particular time, there is really no explanation how the aligning the programs would resolve the concerns that the program has. I'm not hearing anything like that. And I'm still concerned about the budget process that's coming up with these changes when the programs are coming before us. There's no question in my mind that there's going to be some concerns against what the department heads are doing. Because I really think that these changes are not being provided to the staff that are working at the program level. And that's a real concern of mine. And that's the reason why I'm saying that I don't think we should be addressing this at this particular time. I think beginning of the next administration, I think will be the best time to address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Monica, thank you. Any other questions from the committee members? Hearing none, I want to try to get a message in from Cordell Shorty. Are you on the line, Cordell?
Chair Pro Tem, this is Cordell. I'm on the line.
Thank you, Cordell. I understand you've been listening on the situation. Can you give us any viewpoints on what would change in the process of the changes that the DSS is trying to get committed? Do you have any problems with the changes that they're trying to make there, Ms. Shorty?
Chair Pro Temp, members of the committee, Health, Education, Human Services, and Social Services, and all who are on the call. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Gosh, yeah, I asked the question because there were some technical issues early on from the start of the meeting. There's drop calls and other issues. Let me start out by saying the thought, the thinking forward, and thinking beyond the box, if you will, by the committee on trying to advise and lead the division, and that this applies to the nation as well. The nation is very fortunate, I say, to receive a lot of contracts and grants, monies from the federal government, state government, and most of those grants are on a 1-year period, and the expectation, I guess, from the funding agency, and as federal official funding agency would say, these are public funds, funds that are obtained through income tax withholding from working Americans, tribal employees. There's income tax withholding. Those monies are obtained by the federal government, U.S. Treasury, and in return, some of that goes back out to the public to address need in the communities. So federal official would say, as funding recipients, in this case the Navajo Nation, we are to be good stewards to ensure that these funds serve the purpose they're made available. I attended a meeting years ago with New Mexico State legislators about New Mexico State capital funded projects. The legislators' message to Navajo Nation is our constituents come to them, ask for appropriations to address need. We do that. We expect those projects to be put in the ground the next day, and those projects be delivered within the period that they're allowed. So that's the expectation on the grantor side, funding appropriations, funding agencies. So over here, that's what you're trying to do. As I read the agenda, how can the legislators assist to make sure that the monies that the nation are awarded are begin to be used in a short time, and that the needs are addressed? The simple scenario that I can relate to, going back to the days I was in classroom at university about widgets. Okay, the money that you receive is to come up with 100 widgets, let's say, in 1 year time. So at the end of the year, then there should be at least that many produced, if not more. Better yet, more. So I think that's what you're trying to convey. So what can OMB and contracts and grant advise on this process? It all goes back to the submission of the application time, and the application based on tribal 164 review process is that the application, and there's also provision in the budget instruction manual, application go through the review process, 164 review initiated by the divisions, reviewed by OMB, the Controller, Department of Justice, and signed off by the President. So submission of that before the effective date is highly urged. And then when the award comes, it goes through another process. So the outlaw expectation is the application is submitted at least 3 months before the start date, and the award accepted maybe a week before the start date. Let's use 638, for example. The start date on that is January 1st. The application should be submitted October 1st and then awarded prior to January 1st. So there should be funding award already available to start January 1st and to end December 31st and make it available 12-month period. But a lot of times that doesn't always happen. So from the get-go, from the start, it's a late start. And then there's time that Navajo Nation programs submit application on time, but award is not on time. And some of the federal funding, as you're aware, get caught up in what's called a continuing resolution. There's not been a time I recall since I've been in this position going back to 2003 that the federal budget was approved for the full year prior to the 10/1 effective date of the federal budget, 10/1 to September 3rd. It's usually on a continuing resolution, 15%, 20%, until maybe March, April. Then finally we get a full year budget. So that's an issue with the federal funded program, that the budget is not usually all awarded at the time at the beginning of the fiscal year, but incrementally over the course of the fiscal year. So that's a slow start. So we have award in the system. We give transmittal to the program here, and then the procurement process starts. I know that the program initiate procurement well in advance, but somewhere along the way it gets held up. And finally, a purchase order or a contract is executed, let's say. Then the delivery of the goods and services gets held up. With the pandemic that we just went through, we heard there was a lot of back orders on the vendor side, orders not filled. By the time the goods and services get here, then the implementation takes time again. So all kinds of issues delay the implementation and the purpose of the grant. So what is needed to try to get a better handle? It seems like it's responsible, diligent, quick working staff. Controller, there are more staff needed over there to process these purchase requests. And then at the program level as well, and for my office, we have 13 positions, budgeted contracts and grants, and we've been operating with 8 vacancies at one time. Right now, there's still 6 vacancies. So what steps need to be taken to ensure that these positions are filled, and with diligent staff, good working staff, that can help turn the wheel, the little wheel that's needed to move along the big wheel of the Navajo Nation government to deliver services. So there's all kinds of factors involved, but ideally to get going, then the award should be in the system, in FMIS, so the program have it available for the full 12-month duration for use of that budget. So it is quite a good deal addition award to be available on day one. Then I understand also that the closeout processes usually begin like 3 months prior to the end of the award date. That's the process Office of the Controller puts out there. So actually, good and well, we may have an award available on day one of the grant period using the 638 January 1st, but the closeout begins 3 months prior. Now, which is September 30th. So program really have only like 9 months to work with a grant that's been made available for 12 months, 1 year period. So this is where any controller's office need to weigh in also. What is it that the programs need to do so to make the most use of the money that's made available for 12 months, but yet due to internal processes over here, really it's only a 9-month window that that grant is available. So the report that I generated and provided the committee has information on that. So over here, a contract, we look at the report, and there's a lot of grants out there, good and well, but the expenditures are very low, indicating that the purposes are not provided at the level it should be for the duration of the grant. So that would be some of the comments I would make to the question by Pro Tem Chair Halona. Nanda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shorty. I appreciate that. Committee members, you have any questions? Committee members, do you have any questions for Mr. Shorty? Hearing none. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Shorty, for all that information. We appreciate it. I want to see, does Controller Begay, Elizabeth Begay, are you online? Controller Begay, are you online? Hearing none. Let's go back to the committee. Do you have any questions, committee, as far as anything Mr. Shorty has responded to, as well as Ben Associates' questions? Do you have any other questions? Mr. Mose, are we still on?
Yes, sir, still on. I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I haven't done any response from any committee members. I guess there are no other questions from the committee members or Ms. Ben Associate, do you have any other questions? Anything you want to report to? Ms. Begay, Rosalind Begay?
Pro Tem Chair Halona, this is Marlinda. I would like to respond on behalf of Division of Social Services.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. That's all.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to respond to, I guess, some of the concerns that were brought up by Delegate Halona. Yeah, it is understandable that you know, that we have to be mindful about these changes that we're making, all these alignments that we're doing here at the division. We have to be mindful to also consider our staff. So I'll start with the developmental disabilities, where that is it's being proposed to go under Department of Family Services. And part of these initiative is under the NAS-LISER, their initiatives to streamline. She 2 years ago, she paaslata islito bayata o tiki ko e kodinda bita inish. So the the developmental disabilities, it's going under DFS because and all text is also under Department of Family Services. So all text and developmental disabilities, they're funded through the state. Well, it's not really merging. It's just we want to stay away from that word, but they're coming under one department because they're both state funded. So that's one. As far as if there's any reversion for developmental disabilities, it's more on a reimbursement basis. So there, as far as the funding for developmental disabilities, that should, or their services, it should not be impacted. The only thing that we're trying to do for developmental disabilities is hire additional staff so that the more cases they work on, the higher their reimbursement. Auto D, Navajo Family Assistance Services, Department for Self-Reliance, Bininagi, Department for Self-Reliance, Asati, Basal Budget, well, Doshi Asatin, the ACF, Basal Budget, Ahoko, the Navajo Family Assistance Services, it's not really being given the attention that it needs. O ohog in the has kanahalo, okujohut and nahalo, ebenina, stand-alone program, okut adol nil okoko eya, hajo aja, the program manager halodo, be accountant do, johodat any staff hajo bando niloko, beso gi hajoik days eat dole. Auto D, Department for Self-Reliance, I see they're more advanced in technology, though case management. Kudi Navajo Family, Infas, Aja bin yet trained dalnet do Kudi case management, electronic case management, the Aja. Ikut hita dito nishkat no. Ako alt isa but hilchin ado the Navajo treatment for children and families. Ito hananat Dr. Jill Jim do Director Neswit Gishi the 2 years ago, she ain't streamlining. She bought the Winston. Ko de now jadi NTCCFE Department of Health beyond the no the quiz kanda she hot on hitch hot. Ko de shisazindo ha'il. Oil Delis Nahalin Oko Ebenina Department of Health the Hajo transition plan ki etol nito la isikhit ajet staff ki the ka ajet biya the dot after job aben dast ala ko hajo tol nita di no. Okay, Dr. Brenzer, that's a 2-3 meetings. That's the called in now AD Navajo treatment for children and families. Ziki at their services. Ziki NDO a service ziki enhanced by the nito auto beso gilto Shinla Babaka Nado Nesto di contracts the IHS check at A3 Janated la EMS la in TCCF ado la sheikha in besanna. Ako la contract ade in dagil in Jordan hilne ade hot an hiltahalne. Ako di last week personnel or budgets and contracts aki alt iso bantasit in jadi ani transfer ilna ho khait dol dol khait dol ni ako indio ya deep the plan of operation ki ato bela leta ya 164 review process aja should submit ilian hit ni ako she aja bela ta as leo she koto IXSO BIA she we need to make them aware of it though how that transition will happen if it will happen ado the today ya personnel giban na date nihitel EC la on ta idil kitu indio HD ha late edo hit okodi meetings iki today she personnel ban na date auto bekedo on da AD in TCCF iki a staff iki aja ishi we're going to meet with them do kut ela kut abahuin ela hot do ni no hot that's our plans right now to inform the staff ko ya ishta hot auto ani di cordell shorty ya hodneki ani hot adilata the notice of award iki to han hit ata ako the notice of award when we receive it auto skin open definition that to the 164 review process iki we don't get our documentations through as quickly as we would like that to be although niniki ani to ad epeso ni hit ata ako Ebony, some of these employees, they have to use multiple account numbers. Okay, or you are 3 months that the personnel is covered auto, another 3 months by another account number. Okay, contracts, see they have to be in place though. PAFG personnel action form, able process another ko oyo ko dan hin aro jadi last year OU retired dayila 44 dash akunela retired dayila from Division of Social Services ko ita AD accountants dan linigid o hayu retired dayila ko edish jigo ato we're trying to fill those positions do background check the hana dal ne ko abedeni nishinde it's ko di shikodos hikodo on behalf of Director Neswit Gishi do Ashisinigi on behalf of Division of Social Services ya journey recommendation gi ahad the accounting firm or accounting services outsourced but that's could that's equity contracts so that enitski hon nante to later Navajo Nation biological positions filled down neta auto de IXSO BIA ajakutats the peso ki the full amount de award han dagil that's koto o yun source it the kodo 164 a process it does negi auto de tanf ya aja APA funds whatever they don't spend, a reserve account to be de a con lay the article beso the hop which a reserve funds use a this hashina law tribal consultation. We need your input and hit that no administration for children and families. Article budget recommendation in daily, like for example, for childcare, ajito hot beso gi reserve bihin data le ko hot ko ensanad and dilo a aja beso gi cho ido le ko ade that's the oversight committee gi that's in hikato ja a ACF budget tribal consultation. Adoshi Nishikodoe will Ashini, we need to communicate a little better to our staff. Ishi Kodoshi in Hipinel Nishtolefti these changes that we're doing and Ishi Hajo Bilhan Oshi Kodo Nasko Net Nijitol Oshi could I behasito could Ashin hit Ishtonish do a kehat. Back to you, Pro Temp Chair Halona.
Thank you for that. Okay. Let's see. Committee members, do you have any questions? Comments? Answers? Pro Tem Chair. Delegate Gay. Okay, let's go to Delegate Gay first, and then we'll go to Delegate Wanika. Delegate Gay.
Thank you, Pro Tem Chair, Honorable Delegate Halona, members of HESI Committee and presenters here. Oban Siskisko. The 24th Navajo Nation Council in Kit Neniki. Ate the Abela Katashi election year to Condes the day Hatsi. Ado the Condes the day be Hatsi Hiki. Ocean Yoshi Okaho Adole, so campaign the bond that data list. Both Abansaki, hit delegate Niklingi, our work continues. But I kind of the same idea that Honorable Delegate Wanika has. See that or Adole and you decide on a certain theme. Change it, It seems to me that there's always a good possibility that the incoming leadership can look at it differently. Actually, there's Benina Holongi Kanhad or Nisnoson. That is the so Benina Edikat Eyasahot out or me. I don't know what your whole Mrs. Hall just has a committee in Klingo. I could you go and under social services. Daltech, I'll give you an example. Daltech, Albahuint. Narego has Twitter and his son in the Matson, in another, in another son. Eba at the Hayago, but has Diego in the house tea. Okodat ego that these different departments. Is this a time at the end of the hospital? Is it a time to transition to under a new program? Pinda Tashit Nahona. Eda ye Ado Pinda we continue the conversation. We met about over a month ago, probably closer to 2 months ago, in Tonalea chapter. Daltek in Darden Shiki Hata Hasti beyond the Benahadon Hiki that Adapten. Ado Chiyan Pisto Kashikita Narego recipients AD picture Hodor Nishiki Nahoti, which in the Hajus that Chisto Behos Soto Lesita Ten. So Hotego Eya nature Mrs. Hodnet. Okay. Aya Undahiko Ekota Tego. Okay, cut some of these programs again. None such of the yard or nobody called or quiz yard. But also, we're just to me we're just deciding make a decision on something that the incoming new leadership should be making. Article area the thousand or ego even has been the has ego area ego even could ego shahot out earlier. So ego area yat ego nahata oban such case could be what ego your plans are in place. Your planning and the direction, the reasons why this transition happened is in place with your new leadership. The all the heck of open such case I don't think this is the time to make this transition. I think yes, I granted there are reasons why you're doing that, and granted there are reasons why you want this transition to happen. Again, I think it should be under the purview of the new leadership, so that they can be aware of the planning, aware of the reasons, why this transition happened. Because we don't want to do this transition and then give it to the new leadership and say, then they figure out not that and they might have a different idea. They might come up with reasons why there should not be a transition. Pro Tem Chair.
Thank you for that, Delaware Brigade. Appreciate that. Delegate Wanika?
Thank you, Pro Tem. Appreciate giving me the floor and members of the committee that are online. Yeah. Gilman, the that is a fancy. We should is our fancy. Deepen the sheet, restore for daily, and then we're going to inform the staff to know. The quota is totally at 8. But in addition, yeah, Shani, staff and that. They need to be part of the discussion and a part of the plans. You can't make all those decisions and then finally inform them. Wait, or should be stayed out with our staff and this again. A Coben city for staff late Iron, such a Queensland. Don't need armor brigade, see, Ada Nile, Tonalina, the Adi Hassit Leo. Satoya had a Sida ne Dyson Hanan Prada, Asa could chase it, Jordan Allo in his Badahosen. Although there was another program that we went to Utah for AR is still for shelter, okay, for abuse when the the shelter still hatta da shin is to cause anhalo ben hikano a consi khanna still da is atin journal so still out abi hikon mutata stan las title donation na gada no adi in da besnik ako kuda ebna do sha ko AR to Regina ya the Fansala AR the put out for home next door. Even the could Nikita Hotney ya Hina cow that we know are he that on Hadland. So that's a topic it also does if we drink it, the eight of us funded an Hadland. Don't need to put out name see and then we're going to inform the staff to know. I said I was saying no sneaky at 8 or the chance driven out of such a shoulder. A could honorable Begay had this so Tira Nico transition the daily hour. So what thou any here the still here been holding the plan of operation again. So what thou only 25th council there kid was. He has installed the 24th Navajo Nation Council has committee put in Lala. Elaine yet that ours did only located to win the chino later. So a go with that I had up on see case so yet a go it was settled less that the need of job which that is zero that they are you don't know about this case. The call can say Mr. Little Man 80 and then we're going to inform the staff and they need those data. If you have
Thank you, Nico. Let's see, any other questions from the committee members? Hearing none, let's want to go back to Ms. Rosalind Begay or Brenda Sosi. You have any comments on the questions that were being raised? Mr. Gay?
Pro Tem Chair, this is Brenda Sosi. I don't have any comments.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Pro Temp Chair, this is Rosalind Begay with Division of Social Services. I think the Division of Social Services has been meeting with this committee over several years regarding the operation of the division. And I think what I like to convey to the committee, Kodoshin and I, when almost a year ago, I was delegated to the program that provided assistance, financial assistance to needy individuals, families who were eligible. The Division of Social Services in need, Brenda Sosi, my colleague, or one of our team members, Yan Hishwadnet Beso Danet Dehegin Le Washington there. A day who wando ye who wani beso hut arch ane the auto but Nakabaja anal in other hidden Dehegi Jonako Yan Hishwadnet. A call federal government that based on that hiki ACF that a honel that based on hidden the hiki kujabeta inish ado BIA to IHS a tago hinate zoko that's in 98% that's a federal funds beta inish kuja social services ado general fund a Navajo school clothing a aja a what beso budgeted out a aja 1%. Ado state net based on net dehiki 1%. Akut abe da nation and I ako Navajo Family Assistance Services. I need Mrs. Littleman Yaholne. O Anashi's Nahalengo da nation niki ako at a plan of operation at beta inishiki a Department for Self-Reliance a ajibiyado what abaho ao a January 2020 yata a what abe lada so shi shinandai ako ada a beta dejnisto ado tanafiki a yisi behazani ye ada base of ja anal e do base of it babaj edit ahakibena bebe has ani given nachet nel odo benel adon de technical assistance git IEC belaho ile git epenina funding yiki no lako no ebenil na nanel eo akondet asati because Navajo Family Assistance Services Office iki no selto peso lai pa bahinte sili ado da inishiki do adenes nahalen sili ko asati program ilia bayat edolel akwat a bahozin ko asati ajita inisha program ba aliago ado manager ba aliago jono aju asati bahwido al jo what a ba shot what babik ehta wilya do did beta on no a what amendment based so plan of operation negation and I ako aja khashin zache transhishnish ako shish thousand no a ani lay at base of and that awaki ani asati bahas bayat ehlani zi shit as ani ajin shishnish khan dezich that's it's not that's the khan dezich ajit shishnish or ni kado lupaltan neniki for you a company na asati ba program eliago yat edolel akot a ben nani hosh kantolel shinant I a yap bihataso zato edot quet a yapella da so she and the she yat eho that was she and I ado kojo bandat iniki del text at no iniki del text a ni o lesani dos twi da a yanjito ado bekanda the resource center deshne chapter house so all con dan a Department of Health biyado da nation and I AJ the senior centers a Department of Health biyado da niche just want to make that clarification and I ado ya behates ado yeah. Thank you, Mr. Pro Temp Chair Halona.
Thank you, Ms. Begay. I appreciate that. And Ms. Begay, so does that complete your presentation now on the Department of Social Services? Is there anything else any of your committee or department would like to add to that?
Mr. Pro Temp Chair, since you've asked me again, so I'd like to thank the committee for this work session to provide additional information and to convey and to ask for your support. And yes, although there is election around the corner, however, services operation needs to continue, and we would appreciate your review of the plan of operation, and also giving some consideration, even just making the department or the office of the, Navajo Family Assistance Services into a program, a separate, we call it a standalone program, because right now it's not a program, it's an office. So that program, that office deserves to be a program because of its various funding sources and its potential for expansion and improving and the service delivery. Navajo Family Assistance Services is funded by multiple funding sources, including Navajo Nation General Fund, from the Office of Community Services through Administration for Children and Family, and also from the BIA. They get some assistance also from, those are the main funding sources. And then the newly program that is one-time funded is the Low-Income Household Water Assistance Program. That's funded by ARPA, and then the Consolidated Appropriations Act. With that, Mr. Chair Pro Tem, I just want to convey my, convince the committee to reevaluate your thoughts about not considering this and giving this legislation to the next incoming council or the committee. But I think this committee should leave a legacy of creating the Navajo Family Assistance Services as a program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McGee. Appreciate that. Let's go back to real quick, committee members. Do we have any other questions for Department of Social Services at this time? Hearing none, I want to thank all the members for joining the meeting today from Department of Social Services, and as well as Mr. Shorty and other departments that were online. We're going to, if there's no other questions for the committee right now, I want to have close the work session. If there are no objections from the committee,
No
committee members?
You got
No objections from the committee members? Okay. And if there are no announcements or anything that the committee members would like to bring up, I would like to close the session for the work session, please. Committee members?
Mr. Chair Pro Tem, I have a question. This is Rosa Begay from the Division of Social Services.
Yes, ma'am. Real quick, go ahead.
Mr. Chair Pro Tem and legislative staff, thank you. And then members of the committee, thank you for your time. And I know this is like the fourth work session on legislation 0020-22. So my question is whether this completes the work session on that legislation, and if so, will we see the legislation on the next committee meeting agenda for action? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gate. And yes, this does close that request. And as far as the next meeting for the legislation to move forward, we'll go ahead and get that scheduled. And I will be contacting you personally to talk about that legislation a little bit more. And thank you very much again for your presentation. If there are no objections from the committee members, I'd like to call this meeting closed. Mr. Mose?
Yes, sir. We close this meeting, work session at 12:13 p.m.
Thank you and appreciate it. Everybody have a good day.
So,
Thank you. Work session is now closed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Pro Tem and committee members.
Thank you.